Shuk nimsa lavish kalayim train amaroin chadam also chadam amutar mad asar dvar Torah umad mater it's shoachas. It could be that the Yerushalmi has a unique shita, different than the Bavli. The Bavli says the only time we say kavod abrius is dochem by kalayim derabbanan. Okay, kalayim derabbanan. The Yerushalmi seems to be saying can even be docha kalayim d'oraisa. That's the pashup shad in the Yerushalmi. So look on the Mefarshim in the Sura of the Yerushalmi. That's what most of them say. Not everyone, but that's what most of them say. So perhaps we can make the following interesting interpretation. How can it be? How can you say that kavod abrius is docha losa say midoraisa? Chazal have no ability to do that. How can Chazal say kavod abrius? We're all kavod abrius fans, but they can't say kavod abrius to go against a din d'oraisa. So we do know there's an exception. Agamama Sechti Yavamas, Daf Peites, and Daf Tzadi, that the matal lefisha lemigdal milsa. That's mefurish. So perhaps Yerushalmi says like this: the case of the Gemara Yavamas is where they were matir on a one-time basis. One particular event happened in history, and they were matir it. Perhaps the Yerushalmi takes it a step further along the lines of that Bavli and says like this: just as we can be matir a one-time story where it happens once, not have to once, can happen twice also. I mean, it's not on a regular basis. So too, perhaps we can say the same thing over here in our situation. They can be matir even kalayim d'oraisa as long as it's lefisha, because lefisha is also temporary. There it's temporary because the particular event that's transpiring only happens on occasion, lefisha, and here the lefisha is that the fact is going to be taking off the kalayim as soon as it gets to the house. That's what I wanted to make a suggestion. It's interesting, the same Divrei Chaim who argues on the Noda Beyehuda basically he's right, the Tosin Shavuos is against the Noda Beyehuda, but he doesn't discuss why. Why? What about the Yerushalmi? That he doesn't discuss. But he does go into the following very interesting discussion. He quotes that Rambam that we alluded to a little. Yeshiva Sheni, Kol davar sheni mefurish b'Torah, afilu hasmechinu v'akra, nikva divrei sofrim. Right? That's the famous Rambam. Everything is divrei sofrim, kedusha isha. B'kesef is divrei sofrim. Oh. Now he wants to go into the opposite of Noda Beyehuda. The simple shot is it's a machlokas the Rambam and the Rosh. That's how things go start. The Noda Beyehuda wanted to say that even the Rosh holds, you have to say why, because it's not lefisha in our case. Right? We try to, so Divrei Chaim, we don't pass in that way, like that Noda Beyehuda. We try to explain why the Yerushalmi could be l'shita, so it's the rice, we're talking about the Rabbanans, etc. What about our case? Listen carefully. Even the Rambam is going to say it's mutter. The opposite is Noda Beyehuda. Why? And Sorach lo diad, why? Dafka lo saseh mefurish b'Torah, eno nitche. That's the lashon of the Gemara. Mashma she'ena mefurish hagam shemipi hashmua b'lo saseh mikom makom nitche kevan she'ena mefurish b'Torah lo shayach bein eitzav v'chochmul negad Hashem kevan she'mitzvah ena mevur b'ferish. Interesting. It's a remarkable idea. I would never would have said it on my own, but that's what he says. Because the Rambam is careful with his Lashonis. Lama nitcha b'shev avedim neshu lav shel momen. Lama nitcha b'tumas meis hold the period akos of lachoso. It's a question. So therefore, I'm going into every last detail, but this is what his bottom line is. Where do you get it from? Our Gemara. Timra b'lav lo sosa. B'di Rabbanan asmechinu lo sosa. Fear the Rambam. Mitzvah to Rabbanan heim kamo Torah mamish. Kosher l'chora. Lo mahutru mimnei kavod abrius. Kshik shel av Ramban. That's the famous kasha of the Ramban against the Rambam. How can you tell me that all the Rabbans are included in the Raisa? It's against the Gemara in Masechta Brachas. Have you tested in base? So Divrei Chaim is like this. The Daiti Posher HaKavana Shekeva and She'ena Mefurish B'Torah Zeh HaDavar Lo Mikri Chil Hashem the Masha Osa Neged HaChachamim Chachamim Achlu U'Machlu Al Kvodam V'chein Mut Lasos Neged Divrei HaChachamim Hagam Shedinem Din Torah Keva and She'ena Mefurish B'Torah. Wow. That's a very, very big chiddush that the Divrei Chaim is saying. You know, is he right? Is he wrong? I can't say, but that's what he says. He wants to suggest the opposite of Noda Beyehuda. Noda Beyehuda said that even according to the Rosh, it's not a fisha. The Divrei Chaim said that's not correct because they're toasting in Shavuos Daf Lamm and Beis. Either Rishami, we try to give a terrace. Rishami is going on the rice. We're talking about the Rabbanans. But over here, he's saying that even according to the Ram, it's mutter, because now mefurish b'Torah. Sof kol davar. I'm giving you the last line of the Divrei Chaim. Ein ala bo'el chiyuv l'hodia l'abal nekovad abrius. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say anything. That, we'll get to that a little later on. That's what Rabbi Bleich spoke about last time a little bit. We'll come back to it. He's going to believe him. He's not supposed to believe him. Came in the midst of Shalom. Sadly, Kamma Gedolei Hador. It wasn't a one-time story. Kamma Gedolei Hador. Don't say anything. Ad kan the Divrei Chaim.
Shachter's nusach is that the Divrei Chaim says the minhag is lahakel, as if there's no minhag on this matter.
I mean, he does say v'chein nagan Kamma Gedolei Hador. I've never had this shaila ever. Never in my life. But sadly, a different shaila has happened more than once. Not a boel comes and says, must I tell the couple that's together? The woman comes. That's sadly. So what about that? Let's analyze that based on the Gemara Masechta Nedarim. Again, it's a sequel to Rabbi Bleich's Chaburah from last time. The Gemara, the last Mishnah, the very end of Masechta Nedarim, has this case. Similar case. Mishnah says, the Rishon Hayomim Sholosh Noshim Yosef Notos Ksuba Homeres Tamean Yelecha. She says she was Mazana. Chazu Lo Mashlo Teisha No Senes Enel Be'acher U'Mekalkelas Al Bailo. Fine. So the Ran has a very important discussion over here. Equal to Amasnisim. Came in the Medina, the Amra Tamean Yelecha Mitzra Baila, Commissioner Rishona. Mishum, Shlotei, no Senes, Einea, Biacher, Hechi Tirua, Vichi Isa Shabbat, Lehechan Holach. What's going on over here? How can it be? With the rights she's believed, and they're going to say some kind of takana, and they say she's Vimater and Isa Gomer. The Rang has no less than 3 terutzim. First teretz, Medina Asira, Shol Rabbanim Mavatle Milsa Doraisa Mishum Bigda Milsa Bekum Asay, the Geder Godel Goduba, Shotitena Nel Biachel, Afki Atzim Biad Baila. For a Shus Pion Lasas came. You've almost have Tzad, I mentioned before. Migda Milsa Shiny. Whoa, that's only Sheva Tase. Oh, Rosh. I spoke about before. Okay, so far so good. So he quotes the teretz. He's not so happy with it. We said before that Yerushalmi, the Rosh might be an equivalent to this Gemara. That's teretz number 1. Teretz number 2. We say in a few places, Kol Mekadesh Adat Rabbana Mekadesh, Afkin Rabbana the Kiddush Minei, Hachinami hacha kol she'ormo lebaila tamei ani afkinin rabbanon lekidusha meikara ninsa shebishah shenensa. In that case, penuya hoisa. That's by a kohen. Shemach shal lebaila v'chelas b'truma tamina b'gemara. And so too, if it be a Bali Yisrael and Biratzim, the same thing. Elafizen it's Tarech Lomar Kamina Hachi Tavka beOmeres Tameani Lecha Shedanasi Lecha Shenvalti Ameres Tameani Lecha Shedanasi Minos No Mamzer Eina Muteres Lebala Beina B'Mashma. That's why he doesn't like that teretz too much either. He didn't like the first one too much because of his kasha. It's Kum Basei. He's worried about the Kohen issue. We're not talking about Kohanim now. We're talking about Yisraelim. V'acherim tirtzu. The third answer, which he does like. The Mishnah Rishona lo dina katani. The Medina vade eino yishane menes lo matamani l'chol afkiyasam ibayla. Shimushu bedes lo. El mishum the ha milsa the tamani l'chol ksifala. It's embarrassing to say that she did an act of znus. Tekina b'Mishnah Rishona la amina. To lav the kushta ka'arma lo havas mezalz lo nafshal l'mei mahachi. Fine. Michazer rabbanon basroi. She's not believed. Oh, there's the best teretz of them all. You don't have to give this. So the Ran has 3 terutzim. Everyone been so far? 3 terutzim. Good. So this Ran is very, very important, obviously. There's a Tosfos over here. In the door of Daf Tzadi Amid Beis. Chazru Lomar en the menace techashinin shemenenos abiyache. Im Tomar Tmei ani lecha amar lo mehemna hashavis nafsha chatira de isura. Gewalt. So he quotes the Ureim. Lamatzinu zona she'asur linos lekoim. Humus are there. Al he animus heras alav. Look, gamlet varela ena asurabo. Back and forth. If she's muzer, he's muzer. Fine. Venirali. The kevan de shlochos shemanosna enea biacher. Yesh koach biad chachamim lako de varela mikol v'kol b'svara gedola chazos. Sometimes you can't say yesh koach lako de varela Torah. Svara Gadol, as the Torah says in Yevamos, also says Tam Gadol, Svara Gadol, whatever that means. Miunira, the Af, the Mishnah Achrona, Im Omeres, Isha Tumeani Lecha, V'yom HaBal, Shema Amina, the Asuralo, the Iu Shavi L'nafshei Chatira the Isura, V'afilu Tachzer Boho Isha, V'tomar, Biones haya. The punchline is coming up. V'yesh omrim, D'mishamtinale al shagoram sheti aser ishto alav v'ovar al chayim takonas Rabbeinu Gershom. If he says he believes her, that's his way to get out of the marriage. So in the olden days, we didn't think we can divorce her against her will, so no problem. But now that it can no longer be done, that's a very serious problem. Okay. Let's open up the Shulchan Aruch now and see what it says. Even HaEzer, Siman Kuf Ayin Ches Siftes. The last Siman. Kuf Ayin Ches Siftes. Rama, im hi atzum meres lo shezinsa, yesh omrim, b'zman hazeh chem ben gershim, lo legarish isha bal korcha, eino nema loma shemamina, o shemamna divrei ha'ed, t'chashinen shema einav nosan v'acheres, v'yom shemamina, af al pi she'eino mamin, u'menaden oso, al she'om shemamina, V'goram levatel Chaim Rabbeinu Gershom. V'yesh omrim T'kofen also mishameshima. That's what we spoke about last time. Afa pi shama shemamah Divrei Me'achasher isha eina moda o afilu oma bi'asma temeni lecha v'chozer bo v'nosa masal l'dvarei harishonim kein niraliyah pisvara zu. And some disagree. For sure, I don't know Lama Shemam Divrei. The Vadai Machwasino McCain. You see, having a fight before this. It's trying to get out. Adkan, the Rambo. Now, the words that we said in the Ramah, Eino Neman Shemamilo, have a questionable interpretation. How, in what cases was the Ramah speaking? So, here we are. We have a Chochma Shlomo. Chochma Shlomo. Shlomo V'azeinu Neman. Yeah? Of course, various rayas. Watch this. Look, Mashakosov Ramah. She'enu Neman Shemamela. No. Hainuk Shechozeres Midvoreho. V'omeres Lo Nitmo. Avalam Hi Omeres Midvoreho. Vaday Mahanin Emon Shalo. V'chein Moral Shtov Shoner Ramah Hakach. V'zeh Poshet V'duk. He read it like this. I didn't read it that way. Ramah says, "B'zman hazeh eino neman lo meshmamina o shmamina divrei. Chashinin sheme'inim nosan be'acheres. O meshmamina afi she'eino mamen. U'menadin noso at she'o meshmamina kol ba'al Chaim Rabbeinu Gershom." Fine? Fine. V'yesh omrim, the kofen also, u'meshamesh imo. Av b'yishom meshmamina divrei me'achas she'eino moda. Oh, the way I read it, afilu orma be'asma temeni lecha v'chazaro nos asma l'vareya harishonim kenir liya al pi svarazu. So what does that mean? What does that mean? The two statements in the Ramah. One is that we don't believe him. He's in Chayrim. And one is Kol Fanos L'Shameshima. That's a much more far-reaching statement. Kol Fanos L'Shameshima. So I have in front of me a beautiful mimer in Shurat HaDin. Look, we have a lot of Shurat HaDin, so we don't have all of them here. This is in Shurat HaDin Dalid. It's entitled Isha Shezinsa Hem Chayeves L'Saper L'Baila L'Mono Me'isurim. Written by Rav Yaakov Eliazarov. I think, I'm not sure, he's the son of the Rav Eliezer that I knew in Kamma Yavne. I think so too. Rav Dov Eliezer was a tremendous goyen. He used to teach a smicha to the people going for smicha in Kamma Yavne. I saw him. He was a tremendous Talmud Chacham. What's for him? So in this discussion of what the Ramah really means, he has the following. Let's see if I can find it. He quotes the Shulchan Aruch. He quotes the Chochma Shlomo. And he says no.
On the screen.
I'm sorry? I'm on page Mem in this piece, in the bottom. V'isei chok v'shlomo. The Ramah says, "Ein abal nema lama shemama divrei haid." Yeah, dafka k'shechazur ba. Al omedes b'dvarei v'adei b'mahadin amena shalom. Chen mor solosh nevzeh pashut. What do we mean at the end? V'shom shekofel l'shamash imo. V'shom shemama divrei haid. Ma'achasher isha ein amod lo afilu amar b'asa t'mei nicha v'chazur v'nos hamaz l'vrei harishonim. Rosa l'dayik. T'mash v'dafka shechazur ba. V'nos na'amasla. Top of page Memalef. Halav hachi yachaloma shemamila. That's what he says. Ach nirali, that's wrong. Ein marmid every Ramah. Kol adin shekasav hurach legabi ashida shel Mordechai the kol fanosel the shamesh ima ubarur shadin kfia shayach sheisha tovas shemagila din ona shechayav bal yishto v'yoz kaifinu lekayim chiyuva klapi ha'isha ach sheisha omeres she tmeya ve'ena chozeres ba hari gam lefi devareya eno chayav lo esa nasa esa ona v'lo gomi mochla onasa dichad nepotem mishameshima upshita v'lo shayach shechufu esa bal l'shameshima. That's what the Rambam meant. Aval inyan masha kosav shem Ramah the bezman hazeh sheshchina ben gershim ena neman loma shemamina ze nire the gam kshomedes b'dibura eno neman loma shemamina adrabah al ze gam keminadan also sheoma shemamina v'goram l'balchina ben gershim as the Ramah says lo chen nire bo isha lifnei Rab b'tana sheyasura lebala ein kol mokom loma shechayeves loma lebal the manashach in Bangkok lo yamina im kein lo alnu klum possession is sapolo vim yamina harinach shelo so bezman hazeh shlekam poskim gam menaden also akach im kein en lo shum siba lo dia lebal akach kol zman shin raglayim ledav. That's what he says. That's what he says. Wow, I thought it was correct. And then he quotes on the bottom of page Mem Beis, the last line, what Rabbi Bleich quoted last time. Ein shetigus Moshe chela gimel, emresim alamed, uvda de isha she'amra shezinsa, page Mem Gimel, haba ma'amina, hanir, the came in the Medina, eno isha and emenes lama tamei nilcha, tam shema nost ena bi'acher, shub the after milsa the kasifa, omdu chachamim dasa isha, tim shum the ritzon li nost li'acha, toma davar sheka kazeh, Avshu Gnaila, Vazeno Klum, Mashabalo Mashamamina. Mitam Svaroso, the Evsha Tiv, Evsha Tiv the Dava, Shu Gnaila, Kabishu, Son, Nos Leachem. Shum Darayu Makish Divrei Chazal. Makish Divrei Chazal. Shehem Amdu Das Hanoshim, Loichbos Abizak Shirosa Linosa Leacher. And he goes further than that. Echshak Lomashir Mamash Mitrav Dum Chazal. Right? Mi boy hodem shlo lomad lo yodem Hashem chazal bazeh. Af hodem shlo lomad v'yodeh shechazal amru shein lamina. Hu omer shu akoponim amina. Ein bevorov klum l'shavir anav shechatira d'isura. The came in the chazal kovod the mitzanum d'nazu ein ish neseres ein yochel lomad mitzanum d'nazu kein neseres. Hu kaomer dover kosher zeh ani omer shu dover isur. Ein bezeh shavna chachia garden zeh poshim. Came in the Tomer Amin the Badla Dais Kalodam, Koshken Shabbat Dais Das Chazal, Shakofer Beumdan Shalehem, Hu Bedin Apikoris. Huh? You're an Apikoris. Do you believe you're an Apikoris? Wow. Wow. Buchrochen Loma the Mashanesa Olav Shabal Omer Shulmamina, Hu Davka Omer Sharoy, Yone Kir Vishadvarim, Ist they Raglayim Ledova. Kach mamina medava zeh. Shma bezna yodem haraglam medava. Him mamina mela. Shabu bedin shavna shchadik. Otherwise not. Hayos lana medvarov. Nidon didan. The sapel the baal. Shein the b'fanim koraglam medava. Ein lo lamina. Tim yamela mitam shelo yitochet shetom alasad v'reganai kozeh shel snus. For is a neged umdun at the chazal v'makash v'chazal v'apikoris. Manashach. Im lo yamina mana yasapelov. Im yamina imekach shum shava shez muteres lo. Wow, that's what he says. Don't say anything. What's to be gained by saying anything? Oh, but there's a problem. There's a problem. Because he quotes over here. I'm skipping. Oh, page Mem Zayin. Writes as follows. Paragraph Visham. It's coming from the base of Ephraim. Visham Eshel Rav Kosa. V'masha Kosa v'Aran v'Nedorim. Shab Esh Nafkamina. T'Shema T'Kabel Mimenu V'Toma T'Menu L'cha. Why? V'Af Al Pishu Lo Yekabel Mimenu V'Lo Yamin Lo. It's not allowed to even. B'Zman Hazeh. Mikom Makom. Yibadafusha Meisura. Why? Chagav Na'amina Nafkina Rabbanon L'Kidusha Minei. V'Kev and the Efsh Namish Abal Yamin Love Yotziena. O He Tasa Taski Shetesi Mitach L'Makma Sheteda Shasirolo. Kem Pshita Heshodila Shasirolo. Ulasira Shetasa B'Ofen Shetesi Mitach Al Koponim. Even if they stay together, L'Mai Tiflus Mada Efshar. Yodas M'Avshin Lo Shamin Lo. L'Tuchol Mitach Lo. You and Sham. So I was told here. The cave and Shadei Shetomalo who lo yamen la min afkinu. The Chorin Tzol Asas Chol Taska Shetei Mitachto. Cave and Shapi Din Muteres Lo. The Yachad the Rabbanos Afkinu Likidusha Minei. Akasha, we'll come to that Kasha if we have time. Achakol Ponim Adasa Ran Yosei Shesh Revach Mazeh Sheno Marlo Shehi Zinsa. Achesh Shlomo Lebash Tzorach Lamina. Oh. Other Shayamin V'yal Mashem Chazal, even the menace. Yeshafkinu Timuteres Lo Pidin. Solve all the world's problems. Shalom Yisrael. What could be better? We'll come back to that a little bit later. Next page, Memches. Ach b'yetzem adin sarachin. Im din afkinu hu b'dak kishomeres la'bal v'eino mamin lo. O af im toma le'echad o l'shnayim shezinsa. The gam ki agavna yesh no adin the eino nemenes the shemin anasu b'yacher. He quotes the Steichemen. The masha me'aposkim the gam she'omer l'acherim hadin hu the eino nemenes vu pashut u'l'tam aran mishum afkeinu akok tzarech loma the gam she'omer l'acherim also afkeinu l'kidusha minei im ken shuv ein tzarech loma l'bal shezinsa the blavachik she'omer la'rav. I've been the Rav more than once. All the pachas the beis anoshim that dinu sheneseres hayadam akev shen the menace of the Rabban afkos kiddushin memela shuv lefizeh and tzarach loma labal k'moshen is boer. Ha! It's brilliant. Then he is ach b'vad mashakasavt eliel nira sharan nokel leikar atam, as he says at the end. To meikar adinei noishin nemes klal lama tmeini l'cha rak lemishter rishona is atakona sheminu la. To love the kush of the Kamma love and bezalz of an afshnei behachim. V'chakach chozu the notion nostu ineim be'achem ukma adina dolamina. And the Chidor writes that that's the din. Ika the teres ha'achon is because he had kash in the first two. Few times there. Shuv nira den shum sadu mokol loma labal shezinsa. Came in the Medina and the kol nemonis. Ubefrat. We saw the Tosfos. Imhi nemenis lo. Asur lo af lemishta achrona. Came in the Shavin Nafsha Chatira Disura, from Yeshiva Toisis, Shem Shavin Nafsha, Lo Sheyesh and Neman Let's Amadova. And therefore Misham Tinale, nowadays, Harry Menegashim. The Bechol Linyan, Yeshal Love Isal Hamina, Umash Aksho Medis Bidvareo. Not like the Chokma Shlomo. And the Muka Yosef Sham, then the Pesach Moshe. So Mechazgal Mashakasavnu. Shkol shel huver hadar reglayim b'davar al znusa eno nemonos klal. Ven gam ken mokol lo deal lebal shetzorach likonis b'mehucha b'shel saposkim imeshamtino leki agavna. That's what he says. So he's trying to say something which is very, very critical. And then he quotes the Ritva. I have a shaila, by the way. I haven't saw this in print. Today, as has been pointed out in previous Chaburahs, you can make up anything. Right? You make pictures, you can make up, you can text, you can make anything you want. What qualifies as Raglan Ladava? She wants to get out of the marriage, so she'll create texts between herself and some boyfriend, maybe even pictures, which is Raglan Ladava. Why are we choshesh? She made up the Raglan Ladava too. Maybe yes. No, Rabbi Bleich says yes. Okay, so that, the whole Raglan Ladava is yeah. It's different. Every Raglan Ladava is different. Yeah. Okay. Pashas, you see them going out of a hotel room together. Okay, that's you see with your own eyes. But you see a picture of it happening? Bluff! I'm just making, I don't know if it's one of the Pisli Rabbanim have this in their comments in the last few years. Okay. I'm just yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just making a comment. Now, there's a Ritva. He quotes a Ritva on the same page. Page Memches. Quotes a Ritva. The Hakazacha, the Nos Neinea Biacher, Alimtahi. Can you imagine that? Alimtahi. Wow. Amazing. Umdan data the Muchachu, the Meshakra. Not that we think she may be lying. We know for that's what Rav said. We know for sure she's lying. And then he says something interesting. Didn't we just see that the Ran tried that and it failed? And it failed? Achuvas Malbusha Yontif. Ebenezer Simon Zion. He quotes a Torah in a few places. Besvara Gadola. I remember my Baron Soloveitchik when I was in the Shir was big into this Tosis. Yivamas Pechesim and Beis, Pechesim and Beis. But it ran only Harel Shah. But according to the Ritva, Maskanas Gemara, Migda Milsa Shiny, even the Doros. The problem is the Ritva and Yivamas holds like the Ran. And the Dorim, he says that you can be Me'oka B'kum V'asei the Migda Milsa. So the answer is, watch. I'm not sure if he quotes this part over here. No, he doesn't quote the Melville Shion. I looked it up, and the answer that he gives is something interesting. There's steer in the Ritva, right? Ritva Yavamos holds like the Ran, and in the Dharma he says you can be Oka B'kum V'asei living the Milsa. The answer is Takonos Mishnah Achrona. It's called a Takona Lefi Shah Fi Kilkul Hadoros Sharo. You took no Hadoros but La Takona V'chaza Commissioner Rishona. This goes back to what I said at the very beginning of the Shia. It's considered to be L'Shah. L'Shah could be 2,000 years since our Mishnah and nothing's changed, but it's still considered L'Shah because if the world gets a bit of Akshadara, we'll go back. So it's another prong in what I was trying to say before that works out nicely. Very nice. There's two more points to discuss, which are, you might say, side points, but once we're on the topic, I'll bring them up. First question. The Ran said, Afkina B'na Kiddushim Minei. Very nice. Wait a second. So we said before, from the Sefer, the Shurat HaDin, that's great. What could be better? What could be better than living in sin? They're not married. According to the Rambam, he said the Raisa of Kadesha. So what did you gain? Mahawilu. You went from one Issa to another Issa. I don't know which is worse. The Issa of Soitel the Bala, or Issa Pnuya, which according to the Rambam. That's my question. Huh? I'm sorry?
He didn't hold it was dissertation.
Therefore?
So you have only Rabbanon.
No, if Afkin Rabban Kedusha means that they're not married.
So it's a Rabbanon. You don't hold like the Rambam.
You think that it's only the Rabbanon, Pani and Ptu is the Rabbanon.
If you don't hold like the Rambam.
Oh, but if you do like the Rambam.
But they've called B'Shem Refresh.
Ah.
It's not hard.
They don't like the Rambam. Okay. That Rambam they don't hold from. So I want to be Mataris even according to the Rambam. I want to give Mataris even according to the Rambam. Let me explain what I'm driving at. Let's look in the Rambam. Very beginning of the Rambam. In Perik Aleph and Nechos Ishus. Kolabol Ishal Hashem Znus Below Kiddushin Lokam and Torah B'Meshabol Kadesha. So someone to say L'Shem Znus means that he is promiscuous, he is prostitution, things of this nature. Doesn't sound that way. But then what does it mean L'Shem Znus? Oh, here's my pshat. You have to look way into the future in the Rambam to find the answer to this question. You have to look in Hilchos Nara Psula. Perik Beis, Halacha Yud Zayin. Watch. No, you can't put your daughter for this kind of stuff. Oh, the problem. I hope Psukim in the Chumash. Onus and Mefata. According to the Rambam, why isn't there an Isa Dorais of Malkus of Kadesha, which is Patir from Mammon? Look what he answers. B'she'ira hadava mikra, shalom midas aviyah, v'lo hechina atzmo lekach, shedava zeh eina hovet tamid, v'eina matzui. Aber mniach zeh bitul absula muchenes akol mishiyava oleh, gor mishetimola azima, v'nimsa av nosei bitul v'ach nosei achosam, v'sabah v'teled lo yadam ben mihu, v'amechen bitul lekach avi kadesha, v'lo kabol v'anevelas shem lo yisiya kadesha. V'yein konsen also, shochiva Torah kanas, l'onus mefata. Zu shechina atzmo lekach, b'midata b'midas aviyah rezu kadesha. Isu kadesha, echadu, busula, buula, etc. Here's the answer, Rabbi Sai. The Rambam holds the Isu kadesha, not like an Isu achoso. Achoso is also, you know what, you don't know what. Sugas in the Gemara, he thinks it's his wife, it's his sister. It doesn't matter. It's an objective Isser. Period. However, the nature of the Isser of Osiyah Kadesha is different. It means L'Shem Znus. L'Shem Znus doesn't mean that he's a serial balavera. It could be one time. But L'Shem Znus means that he knows in advance full well that this act is not an act of marriage.
It's not against the Gemara.
I'm sorry.
It's not against the Gemara.
Which Gemara? Right.
He'll be Borah L'Shem Kiddushin. If he's not being Borah L'Shem Kiddushin, it's L'Shem Ishus. Either way, he intends to be married to her, and we're still saying it's a Bilas Nus.
I don't understand you. That's exactly the point. Ein Adam Osi Bilas of Bilas Nus.
So
that means what?
L'Shem Kiddushin.
Exactly.
But if he thinks she's Mikudeshet though, right, and he won't be Borah L'Shem Kiddushin, and it is a Bilas Nus. Here Rabbi is saying if it's L'Shem Ishus, my Kavan is L'Shem Ishus, then it's not a Bilas Nus.
Correct.
But the Gemara is saying it is. The Gemara is saying if you're not Borah L'Shem Kiddushin, then
no, the Gemara says the Gemara says and Adam also Bilas Nus, and therefore they're married. That's exactly Rav Henkin's whole shita that they're married.
No.
A carrot.
If a person thinks he's married, he won't be Borah L'Shem Kiddushin.
Oh, but he thinks he's married from before.
Because he thinks the Pacho B'Shavar Pruta is Mikudeshet. Right? Kiddush B'Pacho B'Shavar Pruta. The Gemara says, look at it, right?
Now I understand this question. He thinks he's married from before, right? And now he's living with this woman who thinks that she's his wife from before, right? And therefore, the Gemara says what? So therefore, they're not married.
And it's a bilas.
They're not married.
That's what Afghanim means. That we made all of his bilas nus.
Exactly.
Is that against what Rabbi
So
is saying?
exactly. So that's the question. So what's going on?
No, Rabbi is saying that it's the same issue. Subjectively, we look at it differently. Here,
So,
the Gemara said objectively, it's nus.
Objectively, it's bilas nus, but he's not over in any avera. He's not over those. He's not over in Isa Kadesha because he is working with the assumption that they're married.
So then, but the diuk in the Rambam falls though, because the Rambam said derech's nus, right?
The shame's nus means that he knows he's not married to this woman and he's living with her anyway with premeditation, as the Rambam puts out in Nichos Nar. Premeditation. Where do I come to this? There's another Rambam. Yeah, I want to share this Rambam. Kuf Nun Zayin. Kuf Nun Zayin. Siv Dalet. Listen carefully. Hamakadesh Isha, v'yesh la'ach meshumad, yochol lekadesh lahasas b'tnai kofel, shentipo lefnei meshumad liyibum, shlotem mekudeshes. Marie Bruna. This is a source that everyone is tumbling to make Kiddush al Tanai. Right? Shal Tanai. Wait a minute. The Gemara has beferish in Yevamos Av Kuf Zayin. Ein Tanai b'nisuin. Anti benisuin. Because ain't no more shpilas b'dasnos.
This is Tari Kiddushin.
Anti benisuin.
So this is Kiddushin.
Give a look. Look at it. You almost Kuf Zayin. We're on Tosfos. Look, give a look. You'll see. I'm explaining like this. This is the pshat in the Ramo. It's impossible to make a Kiddushin al Tanai as they wanted to make in. There was a whole book called Ein Tanai B'Nisuin, Yesh Tanai B'Nisuin. It doesn't work. Why? Because if it's in the power of the husband or the wife to just cancel out the Kiddushin retroactively, and if the Kiddushin is canceled retroactive, then Nisuin is nothing. That's considered to be Kadeshus. It's a Kadesha. Be a terrible, terrible thing. Terrible thing. And to avoid Kadeshus, look on the Yevamos Kuf Zayin, and Adam also bilas nus. A person is not going to let himself or herself be pulled into a situation who's going to end up being znus. Chas v'shalom. From a Yidden. This is about the question of people who want to have other issue in the Rivosh. We're not going into that right. It's not the topic for today. However, this Tanai that the Ramos is discussing, there's no way in the world that this Tanai can be mevatel the Kiddushin in the man's lifetime. Impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Can't be. It can't be. So, never in his lifetime will there ever be any shaila of having a beer when you know that there's no marriage. I'll say, but she's 60 years old, not having any children anymore. So what? Either she can die before him, or he can give her a get. So therefore, there's no point in time in his lifetime that we know for sure that they were never married. And that's why, even though it turns out they were never married, this doesn't matter. There's no Easter. Right. But it only works in this case. You cannot extrapolate from here to every case where they wanted, and this rabbi and that rabbi wanted to make these tricks. Doesn't work. We went through. We've been through this. We've written about it even when certain rabbis had certain things they wanted to say. So we assume like the Rambam, Isa Daraisa, again, not everyone agrees with the Rambam. If you go back and Sim Chavav, there were those who have coolers in this, and there was even an organization that wanted to provide pilakshim, those who have a good memory. But we don't pass in that way. Baruch Hashem, Sak Halacha and the Kubal and Klai Yisrael for hundreds of years. That's not so. Follow the Rambam. So now, at the end, this is sort of a, how should I say, an ending to the Chaburah, which is, once we started talking about that Gemara, in Masechta Brachos about Lo Sasur, I wanted to add a few words. We know that the Rambam says everything, all the Rabbanos are included in Lo Sasur, Apia Torah She'erucha, everything. And he goes further than that. In Hilchos Mamrim, the man becomes Zok and Mamre on the Xeris and Takonos. That's the Rambam. Zok and Mamre. That's the Parsha Shoftim. That's the Rambam. That's what he says. The Ramban has many questions. Why Sfeika the Rabbanon L'Kula? We have the Ramban over here somewhere. Sefer HaMitzvos. This is famous. It's Shorish Aleph. Again, it's a lengthy piece. He wants to know why Sfeira Rabbanon L'Kula. Many questions. And he quotes Gemara in Brachos Yud Testament Beis. We started with that Gemara. The lashon of the Gemara is Asmechinu alav lo sosur. Smach bi'almo lechazek. Lo shi'ebem min haTorah as Torah klal bo solav. Lo sosur is only on Pirushi HaTorah. Haloch Moshe Sinai. Torah Shebal Peh. Avok she'omen hadliku ner Chanukah. Just in time. 2 weeks before Chanukah. Yeah? Ein adam yochol asmicho wazeh halav v'shuminyan. She'ein ze bo b'chlal hakosav shnemer ki yipolim imcho dov ala mishpat. That's how the parsha starts. And b'chlal shalavicha v'yagedcha zechenecha v'yomelach. Shitzavol lekabel min askenim ala klal. You hear what's going on? Not what people think. You don't have to listen to the rabbis at all. It just says, what? I read the words again. Tzavol lekabel min askenim ala klal. Earlier, the Ramban, these are the words of the Ramban. Shekevan shenema lemoshe b'Sinai, shekablu aleim Yisrael mitzvahs bez nagadol, ubo aim v'tiknu es elu. For nemru kula lemoshe b'Sinai, ein hefresh beineim b'mirosim Sinai ela shezeh b'frat v'zeh b'chlal. With me? There's a beautiful kuntris Divrei Chaim from Rabbi Chanan Wasserman. Famous kuntris. There's a new version that came out 10 years ago. Beautiful new edition. He asked a question quoted by a sefer of the Yad HaMelech. That the Gemara, the New Testament base, is against the Ramban. When it says, Garo Loshan HaKavod Abrius, Doche Lo say Shabbatorah. Under the Rabbanan, you don't say Tchiyah. Lo Amidu Devrei B'Mokam Kvod Abrius, there's no Tchiyah. Here's the answer. The Ramban agrees is a Savod B'Torah to accept as a canon. We just read it twice. And that Savod, Nidchid B'Mokam Kvod Abrius. Freka B'Chanan, boomerang. All the kashas of the Ramban asked against the Rambam, now boomerang back to himself. Because he himself said in 2 places, I've shown this twice. In 2 places, he says. 2 places. One, he says, Sheitzavol lekabel min askenim ala klal, sadin daraisa, a posuk, shavicha b'yaged chachanalach. And then earlier he said, L'moshe misina shekabel aleim Yisrael mitzvahs bez nagodom, bo'em v'tiknu es ha'elu, for nemu kul L'moshe misina, and hefresh b'neim b'miras in Sinai, shezeh b'frat, v'zeh b'klal. So all the kashas that he asked against the Rambam are kashas against him as well. He quotes Orach Chaim Brisk with the following teretz. According to the Ramban, it's a tzivui kloli midoraisa sholav al divrei hen. This is printed in Kuntrus Divrei Chaim from Orach Chaim, and he gives a brackets example. Quote: "V'dugma b'melech she'asur lahamros es piv." The same way as you can't argue against a king, you can't answer Chazal, Bichlal. The Rambam Svirle, The yesh al kol dover shel devreim isura hamiyuchad. Not a din kloli, a din prati. That's the zokin mameh machlokes. What's the case? Isa chometz derabanan. According to the Rambam, it's an isa chometz, and chometz is davar sheyesh ro kares. If it's chometz l'oraisa, according to the Rambam, not isa chometz at all. Not do the kares of isa chometz. Ad kan, the words of Rabbi Chana from Rabbi Chaim, to explain the machlokes according to the Shittas Ramban, isa kloli. According to the Rambam, it's isa miyuchad, isa prati. Everyone follow so far? Well, guess what? Rav Chaim's famous contemporary, the Meshech Chochmah, says pshat in the Rambam. The Rav Chaim said pshat in the Ramban with the same mashal. The same mashal. Meshech Chochmah Pashat Shoftim. What does he say? I'll give you the quotation. Sama Torah l'chokol v'nei Yisrael l'shmo b'kol chazak kol hamelech ha'maki rabbanan al beprati o inyan ein ritzona b'tzivi prati. And he says, Pshat in the Rambam in Hilchos Brachos, Hasher Kidsham b'mitzvosav, Shetzivo b'hen l'shmoa me'elu Shetzivo l'kras ha'megillah l'hagnesh al-Chanukah v'chein k'shakal mitzvah divrei sofer. That's what he means in the Yerushalmi and Sukkah. Yom Rishon mevorach al natilas lulav, u'shayomi mevorach al mitzvah sekenim. Ta mitzvah l'shmoa b'kolim. End quote. Something remarkable. The Ramban, the Reb Chaim's Pshat in the Ramban is the Meshachor's Pshat in the Rambam. That being the case, we have to say one little twist, which Rabbi Chanan couldn't take, or Rabbi Chaim couldn't take. According to the Rambam, Isur Chometz Derabanan, even though it's not an Isur Miyuchad of Chometz, it's an Isur Klali, but since it's included in Lo Sosur, it's still called a Davar Sheyesh Bo Kares. Rabbi Chaim held that's impossible. It's an Isur Klali, cannot be called Sheyesh Bo Kares. And according to the Meshech Chochmah, it can be, because the Torah prohibited this Chometz B'lav Lo Sosur. The Ramban disagrees. So the whole machlokas, the Ramban and the Rambam, boils down to one thing: is it Lo Sosur or is it Lo Sosur? Nafkamina, Zoken Mamre. Nafkamina, Zoken Mamre. But they both agree it's an Isur Klali, as the Meshech Chochmah said according to the Ramban, and Reb Chaim said according to the Rambam. I think it's a remarkable idea. Now, Sfeika de Rabbanan L'Kula. Why? Says the Meshech Chochmah, quote, B'sachlam b'divrei Torah shemu chazir. Im kain, afim lo tziva habori al safek. Another Rambam. All Sfeikas of the Kula. B'chozo shemu chazir. Kain etz achalnu chazir dova hamatua b'yemes. Al b'safek eruv. Kain kevan she'inyan hazeh eina b'frat ritzon habore. Raksa tziva l'shmo aleim. V'kevan she'alzeh lo dibu. No one spoke about a van, not about a safek. Kain lo nikra mishena osa kain eno shemel b'kolam. Madula mutter. And guess what? This terrace, which the Meshech Chochmah is according to the Shita of the Rambam, Rabbi Chanan gives it according to the Ramban. Amazing. Watch. Nei namin istavinu b'sinai shel laver al divrei chacham as I was saying who din daraisa aval din hazeh hu toloda migufis the rabbanim. V'kevan sheyisa the rabbanim mitzaratzu who kill v'royal ledech b'sfeikol lehakel mimela ein kan isa daraisa klal. How come about the Sfeika D'Oraisa? No. Ain't got Sfeika D'Oraisa klal. So Yisura D'Oraisa ain't a lehecha di ika Yisura D'Rabbanan. Ava Begavna D'Rabbanan mitzarasa mutter because of Safek. Ain't Sorech klal lehatas D'Oraisa. Shemachi lo kasha Ramban kol akusha shiksha l'das Rambam. So it comes out that the Ramban has all these gevaldik kashas according to his understanding of the Rambam, which was a higher understanding of the Rambam. But if the Meshech Chochmah and the Rambam is correct, all the kashas are answered. We'll stop here. Next week.
Rabbi Josh Fagan on Thursday.
Thursday.
11. There's no Chaburah on Chanukah. On Thursday, December 25th, Rabbi Bleich is going to give a Chaburah.
Good.
Thursday, January 1st, Rabbi Reese is going to give a Chaburah. It's not often that Rabbi Reese is here. Did you hear that? Okay.
Still
Monday, January 5th, Rabbi Willig.
Yeah.
Monday, January 12th, Rabbi Benoff. And then Monday, January 19th, Rabbi Bleich again.
Okay, so
And then we'll find out.
let's stop it. It's too far ahead.
Monday the 19th. Trying to keep it on Monday. Yes. Oh.